Now that's Kraken hockey, baby.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're bringing you your favorite team every single day. My name is Erica L. Ayala, back with my UMA hat here because the Seattle Kraken get a big win over the Nashville Predators. We're going to talk about that, but before we get into it, want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Before we talk more about Game Time and our other sponsors, let's just give a stick tap to our Seattle Kraken, a 7-3 victory over the Nashville Predators. They showed some of that grit that we talked about on yesterday's episode that Eberle talked about in the shootout win against the Minnesota Wild. Early start. That's what I talked about yesterday. We needed to get that early start, and boy, did we do it. But then we also saw that the Nashville Predators came roaring back, but the Seattle Kraken had an answer. And that's what I absolutely love about this game. The Seattle Kraken had an answer. And some of the questions, the things that I said I wanted to flag, not that I was concerned yet, but that I wanted to flag, we saw in real time the Seattle Kraken make some of those adjustments. One of the things is just starting early. 2 goals early on. And you absolutely love to see it. This has been a team at times that just couldn't get things going. And so the first 2 goals for the Seattle Kraken in the first frame, and we get them from Riker Evans and Oliver Bjorkstrand, the maestro. You know, I love to see that. You get the Evans goal at 3:37 and 7:07 for Oliver Bjorkstrand, who is on that line with Stevenson and Schwartz. We heard from Chandler Stevenson about that line. I talked to you on yesterday's episode, that Stevenson's line from a few days ago, not really feeling the chemistry, but it looks like Schwartz, Stevenson, and Bjorkstrand might be a combination that we see a decent amount. We talked about also the power play. Neither team was able to convert on the power play. Both had 2 chances. So a lot of 5-on-5 hockey here, something that the players have been talking about that we haven't talked about yet in this season. Face off, 58.7% in favor of Nashville to 41.3%. But what we did see is, especially in the third frame, the Seattle Kraken able to get things going in transition. A lot of that comes from being able to play make in all 3 zones. And that is something that I have felt has not been a part of the signature of Seattle Kraken hockey. If you watched yesterday's episode, especially if you were able to watch on YouTube, then you know I brought up our handy dandy heat maps. I love a heat map. I love a game flow chart. And you can see here from this heat map, the Seattle Kraken still push to the outside more than I personally would like, but they're getting into the zone. They're getting into that home run area. 3 of the goals coming from right over here. You can see that heat map. So if you're streaking down, that's going to be on the right-hand side of the ice as the Seattle Kraken are attacking the net. And when they're shooting from distance, high slot, and then over to the left side. So still want to see the Seattle Kraken get a few more bodies in the paint, but I like that this heat map is not so much pushed out. We've got some high traffic as we're getting bodies in front. That was something that I really wanted to see the Seattle Kraken improve upon. It's something that Jaden Schwartz talked about before last game. So I love that we already are seeing some of the adjustments. And I don't even know if the right word is adjustments, because what I think it really is that the Seattle Kraken are settling into a lot of the newness, new coaching staff, new players, new season. And so, how do you make those adjustments? New leadership on the ice, right? New players on the ice. And so, how do you make those adjustments in such a short order? But I absolutely love, if there's one thing that I really want the Seattle Kraken to take from this game and do in all of their games, it is the early start. A goal in the first 3 minutes, 2 goals in the first 10. Now, of course, there are some backsides. There's some drawbacks, I should say, not backsides. That's something completely different. There are drawbacks to some of the ways that the Seattle Kraken played, including giving up 2 goals also in the first period. Got one back towards the end. Brandon Tanev, love seeing him get more involved. Is that a product of the system? We might have to break that down and talk about it a little bit. But he's, Yanni Gourde, Brandon Tanev, and Ty Cartier on a line together. That's a big time energy line. They actually started off the game. We heard the broadcast talk about, the quote unquote fourth line. And so that is something that, even though I've had questions about Yanni Gourde, I've had questions about Brandon Tanev, and I don't think those questions go away, especially until we know if this can be a 90 or more win season for the Seattle Kraken. I don't think those guys are off the chopping block, so to speak, but I like that we're getting contributions. And this is a system, as I've said before, that absolutely should favor Yanni Gourde, that absolutely should favor Brandon Tanev. And I hope that we're seeing a little bit of that. I've also said that, I'm very curious to see how Andrei Burakovsky fits into the mold of this new Kraken squad, because, I think in theory, he should have things open up for him. Andrei Burakovsky played with Matty Beniers and Eeli Tolvanen. Now, that line didn't really get too much going. We have Bjorkstrand scoring. We also, in the third, had Schwartz scoring. So those players were very effective. And then it was Eberle scored as well. Jared McCann with an assist. Jamie Alexiak, I want to talk about. But Eberle scores, then McCann scores, and Beniers assisted on that. Great game from Jamie Alexiak. Adam Larson also got that empty net goal unassisted. So good start. And I want to talk about why I think the finish to this game also critical, not just because Nashville was hungry for a win, but also because the Seattle Kraken need to feel what it's like to command a game. And I think that's what they were able to do late in this one in Nashville. So we're going to talk about that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Mentioned it at the top of the show, but today's episode brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You know that I travel a lot, and one of the things that makes traveling to a new place so much fun is knowing that I can go to Game Time, and with all my free time, I can find shows to theater performances, sporting events, and so much more. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, another thing that I love is that you can see the view from your seat. So not only are you getting the best picks, you can make sure that you are also getting the view that you want. And you can also toggle to make sure that you have the all-in pricing feature activated. This feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Oh, you best believe it's game time. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money. Um, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. So now this is what I love about Prize Picks is that it is, again, the best place to get real money in sports action. 10 million users, and you can play along Joe Budden, MMA champ Sean O'Malley, their community plays. So you can find those under the promo tab and view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. So it's not just a way to make money, it's also a way to be in community with sports loving fans just like yourself. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts selects player projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineup. So download the app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And again, download the app today, use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. And Prize Picks is a place where you can run your game. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here. What a great outing. I said we were going freshwater fishing yesterday. We came up with seven, here we go. There we go. 7 different goal scorers, and you absolutely love to see it. Another thing I absolutely love to see is that Jamie Alexiak is a player who, if you listen to the podcast, you know, I've been critical of. But if I'm not mistaken, if you look at the game score analytics and the data visualizations, if I'm not mistaken, Jamie Alexiak has had the highest game score for the Seattle Kraken in the past 2 games. And so is this a product of the changes to personnel on the ice? Is it a product of the coaching changes? Is it what Chandler Stevenson told us last night, that it's just a product of getting a little bit more comfortable? Well, in the case of Jamie Alexiak and seeing his game score go up, I think that maybe, and again, this is something that I'm going to have to keep an eye on, but maybe with Jamie Alexiak and potentially Yanni Gourde, Brandon Tanev, who I mentioned in the first segment, we are starting to see some of the other dividends and the implications in a good way of having Dan Bylsma as the coach. Here is the hockey stats cards. Love this. Jamie Alexiak, you can see, especially good from the team offense above average, team defense above average. And these are, again, things that I've been critical of in the past. Brandon Montour, Adam Larson, Jared McCann up there. Now, Ollie Bjorkstrand and his line, you'll see Oliver Bjorkstrand, Jaden Schwartz, Chandler Stevenson, kind of on the lower end of high or the higher end of middle, however you want to say that. But game score takes in a lot of different factors, including some of the factors that are, as far as a plus minus, could be some things that are not necessarily what you want to see for things to have a positive impact for your team. So when you see players like Will Borgen, Eli Tolvanen, Andre Burakovsky, Riker Evans, all with comparative to the rest of the team, you can see that their game score on the negative side significant compared to other players where really, I mean, Jaden Schwartz had some things on the negative side, Tanev, McCann, but they're minimal. Jamie Alexiak almost a completely positive, which is super cool. Love to see that for him. But you also have to see like what's going on with Will here or Andre Burakovsky, Riker Evans as well. So I like game score. I really I think the impact game score impact card is extremely helpful. And I love to see that Jamie Alexiak has a positive game score here. I do want to keep an eye on Andre Burakovsky because he is a player who I think my hypothesis has always been that he could have a huge breakout season under Dan Bylsma, but it seems like maybe the combinations just haven't been what they need to be yet to unearth his full potential. And it's something, again, that I've talked about on the podcast. He seems to be a guy that can be very creative, but I wonder sometimes if that is predicated on how much he trusts and has comfort with his line mates. So I hope we get to see the best of Andre Burakovsky for the Seattle Kraken, but we don't have to keep all the eggs in the Berkey basket this year, or at least that's what it's looking like. Still early returns. We still have to see this team come together. And, you know, I talked about it yesterday. Joey Daccord. You know, there is a scientific and analytical way of looking at Seattle Kraken games over the years. And then there are ways of looking that are just vibes. And sometimes for me, it's just vibes. It's honestly just vibes. And the Seattle Kraken tend to, you know, there's a saying in basketball, WNBA finals is happening right now. So, of course, I've got basketball in the brain, you know, that ball don't lie. Well, I don't think the puck lies either. And, you know, Joey Daccord, after giving up those 3 goals in the first frame, you know, or excuse me, 2 goals in the first frame and then 1 in the second. That's all she wrote. He and the rest of the defense, they were able to shut Nashville down. And that's huge. That's huge. That's the kind of performance that we need from Joey Dax, that we need from the offense. Joey Daccord ended the night with a 909 save percentage. A 909 save percentage. He made 30 saves off 30 shots faced. Again, the Seattle Kraken were perfect on the penalty kill, as too was Nashville. But I alluded to it yesterday. And how much are we going to take into account that Joey Daccord, he's got 2 wins, and Philip Grubauer hasn't gotten a win yet. I think it's still a little bit too early, but again, something I want to keep the finger on the pulse when it comes to a few of these things. So what is that? Jamie Alexiak, game score, looking great. Impact card, looking great. Andre Burakovsky, let's keep an eye on the game score and the impact cards for him, especially as we see any line changes happening. And the early start for the Seattle Kraken, that's not so much the impact card, that's more the heat map, as well as just the tally of what they're able to do in the first frame. But we also ended strong. 4 goals in the third period for this Seattle Kraken team. And if you look at the game flow on Natural Stat Trick, you'll see that the game flow, except for a few times early on, those first 2 goals for the Seattle Kraken, the Nashville Predators had a decent amount of that game flow on their side of the chart. So the Seattle Kraken, even though they maybe are not dictating the pace or even winning the possession battle, again, with those breakaways, are taking opportunities to really attack. And that is something that I like to see. I think that goes to the gutsy, the gritty, the sandpaper style that we're expecting to see. And we're in the infancy of that right now under Dan Bilesma, but the team is going to go home. We're going to have a homestand. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. We'll get into it again here on Locked on Kraken. That's coming up. And one more sponsor, you know them well. We talk about them most every day. That's because today's episode, once again, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Now, if you are an NFL fan, you're not going to want to miss this deal because FanDuel is making it super easy for you to make your bets and have the best shot at winning your bets. That's because you can head over to America's #1 sports book, and if you have a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet over at FanDuel.com. Once again, that is FanDuel.com. What are you liking about that over under 85.5? That's what we talked about in the preseason. I've seen some people bumping that up to 90, 95 wins for the Seattle Kraken. Where do you stand? Well, take your chances on NHL, NFL, WNBA finals, and so much more at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Seattle hockey fans, I hope you're feeling good about the win yesterday. Now, what is only going to make us feel better is if we can see that replicated in real time as the Seattle Kraken come home for what is going to be a 5-game, if I'm not mistaken, a 5-game homestand. And this is where the consistency is really what I'm looking for. We haven't always had that. We certainly didn't have it last year, but I am hoping that we can see a little bit more consistency. We've got Philly, Calgary, Colorado, Winnipeg, and Carolina before we hit the road again. And, I think that we can see it. I think that we can do it. Are we always going to score 7 goals and 4 in the third frame? I don't know. But I think that there are some things that I'd like to see the Seattle Kraken continue. If we look at Allison Lucan's post-game analysis, the Kraken had 7 odd man rushes while only allowing 3. So that goes back to what I said and what Chandler Stevenson accurately identified as one of the things that was effective for the Seattle Kraken. Dan Bilesma also talked about that. Exited and entered the zone more successfully than the Nashville Predators, 75.8% on the exits. And that's how you get the puck moving in your, literally, that's how you get the puck moving. But also, we've seen trouble with exits and entries for the Seattle Kraken. And so more dynamic passing, more communication. I hope we see more of that. 56.4% on the entries. So not as smooth, but getting the puck out of the zone is literally the first step. Tanev, again, a player that I said I'm keeping an eye on, led in individual shot quality 5-on-5 with 7 shot attempts. Larson led in the same category in all situations. Stevenson earned his first point yesterday as a member of the Kraken. And he had 6 exits, 6 entries, leading the Kraken and the most possession time in the offensive zone. And see, that's what I'm talking about. The possession time is also something that I want to see how that needle ticks. But Chandler Stevenson, we've heard about his skating. We heard how his IQ is really high, but the capability to hang on to the puck is going to be huge. Now, there is a payoff of that, right? You don't want to hang on to the puck too much where you're not making moves. But I like that Chandler Stevenson. I think Brandon Montour can really be a great puck moving defenseman. And so I like that. The new look line, as Allison puts it, of Jaden Schwartz, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Chandler Stevenson had the best shot volume, 64.7%. And the Beniers line with McCann and Eberle, so those two reunited, and it feels so good. generated 86.4% of all shot quality when on the ice. And so we know that McCann and Eberle got goals. Beniers set up, I think it was the McCann goal with a primary assist. And again, I'm looking to see Beniers as a playmaker. So the fact that that line generated 86.4% of the shot quality when on the ice, even if we're not seeing Beniers get on the board as far as goals right away, that's what I think he needs to do. And as things get a little maybe more handcuffed for Eberle, who's been pretty hot for us, or even McCann, who you got to think is still on the scouting report for many opponents, that should open up things for Beniers. I think another way you could look at it, and as someone who likes defense, I think also maybe you just try to stymie Beniers and to frustrate those other two, but we don't have to talk about that unless it comes to pass. But we'll see what happens there. And so Joey Decord gets the second quality start. Stopped, as I mentioned, 30 of 33 shots. Considered a quality start for him. Goals saved at above expected, just slightly. So he did effectively what he was supposed to do, which is really all you want to see. The shot attempts, Roman Josi, I always get that wrong. He led with 6 for the Predators. Multiple players for the Kraken had 5 shot attempts. So I love that we're seeing the depth of the Seattle Kraken and the balance, hopefully, of the lines moving forward. As I mentioned, the upcoming schedule for the Seattle Kraken, you've got 5 games at home, including Saturday's game, which is Hispanic Heritage Night. So my people, I hope you feel appreciated on Saturday, but always. So next game is going to be tomorrow, Thursday. That's going to be against Philly. Then it is the Flames on Saturday for Hispanic Heritage Night. 2 days off before taking on the Colorado Avalanche on Tuesday, a week from yesterday. And then Wednesday off, then Thursday against the Winnipeg Jets, and Saturday against Carolina before another 2 days off and landing in Montreal to take on the Canadiens next week, the week after next on Tuesday, October 29th. So let's see, what would success look like for you in this homestand? We're taking on, again, Philly, Colorado, Calgary, Winnipeg, and Carolina. I think that we can get 2, 4, 5, 7 or so points. 7 points would be nice. I think 2, 3 outright wins. I'm thinking I'd love to see us get a win over the Flames and Winnipeg. And then, it's so early. I think we have a shot against Philly. I honestly think we could win against any of these teams, but I haven't been as locked in to what they have going on. So definitely going on off of what they did last season. I think we always kind of give our A game to Colorado. So I'm maybe putting those 3 on my radar: Colorado, Winnipeg, and Calgary. Not sure what to expect from Philly. I'm not sure what to expect from Carolina. Generally speaking, those can be pretty tough teams to beat, but we've also beat them in the past. So I'd love to see 7 points from this homestand. 7 points out of 5 games. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. So what do you think? What are your expectations coming into this homestand? And we'll, of course, get you ready for our next game on the next episode of Locked On Kraken. Until then, be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Hold fast. Stay true. Wear your Uma Pirate hat. And loud and proud, we say, let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.